You have coronavirus, COVID-19, there's a couple of C's. And then you have the other C, conspiracy theories. So get this number, almost half of Canadians, precisely 46% of Canadians, this is found by the Carleton University study, almost half of us believe in at least one conspiracy theory surrounding coronavirus. Why do you think that number, at least to me, seems very high?
I mean, to me, it's not that surprising. We're living in very intense times, and there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of unknowns. So I'm not surprised that people are starting to share increasingly these conspiracy theories. It frustrates me, though. I've had a few arguments online on Facebook when people have shared stuff that clearly you can poke holes in. And what's interesting to me is that it's like the extreme far left and the extreme far right, in this particular instance, seem to have shared interest in these conspiracy theories. And I find that very fascinating. And what's interesting about a lot of these videos is that they contain maybe like an ounce of truth, and then they've been blown up and extrapolated, and they have these so-called experts, and so they feel quite legitimate in many cases. And the fact is that there have been conspiracy theories in the past that have proven to be true. I'll give you one random example, which is that there was a conspiracy theory ages ago that the American government was experimenting on people with psychedelic drugs in order to kind of like, I think, question whether or not they could do sort of mind control. And it turns out that actually was kind of true. There was an experiment in the 50s and 60s called MK Ultra. The CIA had started it, and they did indeed experiment on people without their knowledge or consent. And I just float that as one example. The fact is there's also a ton of conspiracy theories that are utterly ridiculous and have still been floating around more recently. Alex Jones loves to peddle these. One of them was that the government's been putting chemicals in the water to make people gay. And not only people, but frogs gay, that he literally said this. And of course, there was the famous conspiracy theory around Hillary Clinton running a sex ring out of a pizza parlor. Remember this one? And the fact is, some people are not bright enough to kind of like, really question these types of things. And what I keep coming back to is, A, smart people need to stop sharing this stuff. And ultimately, you can believe what you want to believe. If you want to be anti-big pharma, if you want to be anti-government, you want to be anti-healthcare. But at least right now where I'm sitting from, I think if you want to choose that route, then don't go depending on the government or on modern medicine to help you when you need it.
When it comes to this pandemic, conspiracy theories do abound, don't they? If the Chinese are to blame, blacks are to blame, Bill Gates is to blame. In a catastrophic event such as this, people look for something or someone to blame. Sometimes reality is hard to take. But what this pandemic seems to be doing, in my opinion, is pulling back the curtain on who we are as a society. You know, we look at what the disinvestment in certain communities of color, indigenous community, even seniors, and that community of people, and how they've struggled through this. The whole lack of investment in science. We're coming to see how that is looking. And it's not looking too great in this pandemic. So really, it tells us who we are. We haven't taken care of our most vulnerable very well. It gives us an opportunity to change. But really, this pandemic is, hey, let me show you who you are. Now, what are you going to do?
The thing that I've found the most difficult in hearing and seeing conspiracy theories is when they are peddled by the most influential people in the world. And of course, I'm going to bring up US President Donald Trump because his spouting off of, treatments and drugs and all kinds of things that are not supported by science is the problem when you have a lot of people, like you said, Sin, like you said, Mars, that are not doing sufficient critical thinking and analyzing of some of these theories. And so when you have the most powerful person in the free world anyway, who is peddling himself these conspiracy theories, boy, oh boy, does it make it really hard. It really bolsters the argument of all of those who believe in conspiracy theories to be like, see, he believes it, it's got to be true. And then the flip side is what happens to the quote unquote truth. And when I say quote unquote, because people are denying science now. And listen, science isn't perfect, but it's the best weapon we have got. And if you look at the history of viruses and the CDC, for example, the Center for Disease Control, and how they've managed viruses in the past, they have been highly successful at eradicating or managing so many viruses that have killed hundreds of thousands of millions of people, and they've been able to reverse that. It's the best chance that we've got. We don't believe the scientists, and we believe someone who's spouting pseudoscience. I think we're in really big trouble.
I think we also have to look at, in addition to the conspiracy theories, how they get disseminated, because it's one thing to have someone come up with something really outrageous. It's another to have it spread almost like a virus itself. I remember in the 90s, there was a movie starring Mel Gibson called Conspiracy Theory. Julia Roberts was also in that movie, and I wonder if she regrets it now. But anyway, Mel Gibson played like the prototype of a conspiracy theorist, right? So a loner, and often that person ranting and raving by themselves, and everybody kind of stayed away. And psychologists have done profiles on people who believe in conspiracy theories or are conspiracy theorists themselves. And commonly, they are people who don't play well with others, who are socially awkward. And a conspiracy theory or believing in one makes them feel special. And the thing now, though, is that with the internet, they've found a community. So in this community, they've been able to feel less alone in their outrageous beliefs. So I think it's also worthwhile talking about, listen, anybody can come up with a crazy idea, but now there are tools to spread it in ways that we didn't have before. And I think that is the 1-2 combination that is making things so difficult for scientists and for healthcare workers and for leaders to get something like this out of under control.